Christopher Columbus was a fictional character. Let me explain. So the reading Zechariah 16, Yahuwah sold his people because we were being rebellious, right? To the bad shepherd. He sold us for 30 coins, silver coins, and he came back and he bought us for a price as Judah sold them for 30 pieces of silver, right? So he sold Jehudah and Joshua. He broke the staff, right? So he sold us to the bad shepherd who doesn't care for the old or the young. So that is the Pope, the doctrine of discovery. That's when they took our lands, enslaved our people, and they still hold the deeds to our lands today. The Vatican is the largest non-government landowners, and they were supposed to give us lands back to us, and they don't want to. That's why they're here enslaving the red nations. So here's the bad shepherd. You see that? That's the pineal gland for mind control. So there's your Christos. It's a Cristobal, and Collins. That's who it is. The Collins family. So the ships they came over was the Niña de Pinta de Santa Maria, where these are the daughters. And again, I will be sharing these images with you guys. So he's fictional. So now you guys know the synagogue of Satan is the Vatican, the Merovingian bloodline. That is the Papal bloodline. That is the bloodline you see of so-called Mary Magdalene and their Jesus Christ. You should know by now that Jesus is not his correct name. Okay, so this is goddess worship. You see, and there's the goddess worship, Mary and Jesus. Who is Mary and Jesus? Isis and Horus. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is because a lot of our people are getting taken into camps right now, and our people are big with goddess worship, especially the Mexican community. They have this thing with the Virgen de Guadalupe. I don't ever see them really praying to anybody but the Virgen of Guadalupe. I don't ever see them do their prayers up to Yahuwah. It's always to the Virgen de Guadalupe. Get out of Christianity. Get out of goddess worship, because this judgment is not supposed to fall on us. This judgment is supposed to fall on enemies that enslaved us. But Daddy starts at his house first. So you're basically doing worship to Lucifer. So you're not going to be under his protection as judgments upon the nations right now.
Who runs the United States? Guess who runs the United States? Everyone says, oh, it's the Rockefellers. It's the Collins family. Now, who are the Collins? Well, there's a fellow called Christopher Columbus, who in Spanish is called Cristobal Colon. He came from one of the papal families called the Colonna family, and they were the enemies of the Orsini family, who considered themselves to be the Maxima family. The Rothschilds and the Windsors come from the Orsini family. The Orsini and the Colonna were fighting in the Middle Ages to be popes. One pope finally comes along in history and says, right, you've got to stop this fighting amongst yourselves. And he said, one of your family has to marry one of their family, and you have to make amends, and we have to make a papal bull, and we have to work together. And from then on, the Collins family becomes Columbia, District of Columbia, the Knights of Columbus, Columbia Pictures, British Columbia, Columbia in South America, and the Collins family still runs America. Thank you, Christopher Collins, otherwise known as Christopher Columbus.
argument is always, well, you know, the white people brought us Christianity. It is not, well, they brought it later, but we as Native Americans and my people as the Dene people, they walked and talked with Christ long before the pilgrims came. They knew him, and he walked around among them. When you think about the drawing that these men had, and then think about what my grandfather and the 12 men spoke about, and they, you know, my grandfather said that they built a ship and they came across the great waters, and it was tumultuous, and they came here to this land. They were in the east, and there was millions, eventually, of millions and millions of Native Americans that were, you know, that were just covered this land.
South Gilead Way, Utah. Ephraim, Utah. Daniel, Utah. Dan is short for Daniel. Nephi, Utah, short for Naphtali. Moab, Utah. Eden, Utah. Goshen, Utah. Jordan, Salt Lake. Mount Carmel Junction, Utah. North Eden Canyon, Utah. Zion Canyon, Utah. Zion National Park, Utah. Benjamin, Utah. Enoch, Utah. Joseph, Utah. Levan, Utah. Providence, Utah. Salem, Utah. Salem, Jerusalem, Utah, nicknamed Beehive State. There's a mountain in eastern Nevada named Mount Moriah, and it is over 12,000 feet high. In Utah, not only is there a river Jordan, but it runs out of a freshwater lake and into the Great Salt Lake, which is remarkably like the Dead Sea. There is also a Mount Nebo of the Nebo in Utah, approximately 12,000 feet high. So yes, with evidence this strong, the real Judah was in Utah. People try to say that it was the Mormons that gave these places in Utah biblical names to support their position as Jews. However, this explanation fails miserably, because there are no 12,000 feet high mountains in modern day Israel.
Gathered this week, and they prayed, and they prayed to pipes and prayed to their ancestors, believing that this is the way for their freedom from their sickness. This is what this culture did this week. Jesus is the chain breaker. He is the only God that we should be praying to. A pipe cannot hear your prayers. It's just a piece of material.
This is the pastor speaking at a church on the res in Wyoming, condemning our Sundance, one of the most oldest and sacred ceremonies that we still have today. It feels like active genocide and history repeating itself with attempt to discredit and completely erase our traditional ways of life. Our lodges and ceremonies have existed long before any church has came to this land. Our culture and our ceremonies are a way of healing, connection, and identity for our people. Everyone has the right to practice their own faith, but claiming that one path is the only path while belittling and condemning ours is very disheartening. It's also ironic that the core teachings of Jesus is love, compassion, unity. Yet so many people today preach division, hatred, and judgment in his name. And in my opinion, if Jesus were here today, he would be telling our native people, sing your songs, speak your language, attend your ceremonies, embrace your identity, because that is who we are. Definitely not judging us and declaring that our way of life to be wrong.
Amaseus, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille in quam Lucifer qui nescito casum. Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille in quam Lucifer qui nescito casum. Lamaseus Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille in quam Lucifer qui nescito casum. in qua terrenis celestia, humanis divina iunguntur. Oramus ergo te flammas eius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer qui nescito casus, flammas eius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer qui nescito casus,